In this video, we're going to talk about autonomous cars that drive themselves and are packed with technology, including artificial intelligence. But lately, it seems like progress has stalled and things are moving very slowly. We're going to talk about this, but first, comment on it down below. If money were no object, would you own an autonomous car? Would you get a Tesla? In other countries, even an IDB, they're also making waves in this market. A little car to take you to the beach, you just say, take me there while I watch a show. Leave your comment below. I brought a report from All Hard Digital that features a market expert. I'm going to react to the news and share my opinion, and you can share yours too. And at the end, I'll leave the original video and the channel for you to subscribe to. Okay? Shall we get started then? 3, 2, 1, go!
The technology, which seemed promising decades ago, has become a thorn in the side of the automotive industry. Progress has been slow, new solutions are emerging, but at high costs. Let's follow the details in the report.
More than 20 years ago, the United States began the race for autonomous cars. Over time, the industry's enthusiasm suggested that fully independent vehicles would be everywhere, but that has been changing. The advancement of the technology has slowed down. Many automakers and startups have given up due to high costs and complexity, and accidents involving partial driving systems have led to increased regulatory scrutiny. Currently, we can highlight only a few companies. Waymo, which belongs to the same parent company as Google, Alphabet, is expanding its robotaxis. Cities in the United States, such as Phoenix and Los Angeles.
Recently, Elon Musk has already showcased Tesla's taxi cars, and he also presented a kind of Tesla van as well. And what's the issue? The issue is, first, there are cars for private individuals like us, and there's also the matter of buses, vans, taxis, Ubers, and so on. Besides the car technology, there also needs to be city infrastructure as well as legislation. So several factors are involved, not to mention the level of automation. Why is there a level of automation? For example, starting with just a few sensors, then you have one that already drives itself only on highways, then one that also drives in the city. Beyond that, there's also all the way up to the last stage, the highest level. At the previous level, it still needs to have a steering wheel. And even if it drives itself, a human still needs to be watching, right? Then, after that, at the final level, which we haven't reached yet there, won't be a steering wheel anymore, right? And this is becoming more and more slowed down. By now, I believe it should already be common, right? But let's keep going here. Let's listen to the specialists giving their opinion as well. It depends if you've even driven or at least gotten into a car, like a Tesla, for example.
Francisco and Austin, with plans to expand to Atlanta as well. Tesla is promising the Cybercab, which is also a driverless robotaxi with no steering wheel, for 2026. But it's still a long way from full autonomy. In addition, authorities are investigating the suite of driver assistance features that Tesla named full self-driving after repeated accidents. In China, the duo Weride and Baidu are leading, with global plans and a strong presence in cities across the country. Facing difficulties, Ford and Volkswagen shut down their joint autonomous vehicle unit, AVGOA. This shutdown happened in 2022. Apple, after investing billions, cancelled a project for the sector in 2024. For example, a significant sale to General Motors occurred after one of its robotaxis ran over a pedestrian in San Francisco in October 2023. The giant shut down the cruise division. The company redirected funds toward the development of autonomous cars that could be sold to consumers and toward improving driver assistance features.
Yeah, Apple gave up. They're just keeping the navigation system updated, right? So there's the Apple car, right? Anyway, there's also an ethical issue, because what happens? Imagine everything is numbers, everything is calculation, everything is artificial intelligence, fine. So what happens? You're inside the car, you're the driver. But okay, the car is driving itself. Then a child crosses the street. What does the car think? it thinks probably, it could think like this, which has already happened. The possibility of me braking. Situation one, the car brakes, and then I save the child, and very likely the driver dies, right? Then there's another possibility, like it doesn't brake, kills the child, and saves the driver. So it does a calculation. It says that out of the situations, the chance of the adult inside the car surviving is greater. So it runs over, for example, right? The human driver asks themselves, hey, did you see the child? Did you say like, hey, I have a better chance? No, you end up braking there by reflex, right? But anyway, there's no humanity in artificial intelligence. It's just numbers, right? So what's the possibility? What's the rate? So all of this is questioned, right? All of this is taken into consideration. The car runs someone over. Whose fault is it? Like, could it be the driver's fault for not taking the car in for maintenance? Could it be the manufacturer's fault because the system wasn't good enough and a recall is needed? And so on, right?
The steps leading up to full autonomy are advanced driver assistance systems, known as ADAS, which help with parking, staying in the lane, or avoiding obstacles. Present in almost all car manufacturers, these technologies vary in levels, ranging from 0 to 5. Tesla, for example, has systems classified as level 2, which requires constant intervention and supervision from the driver. Mercedes-Benz offers level 3 automation.
See, do you get it? The driver has a steering wheel. The wheel moves by itself, but the driver still has to keep an eye on it.
And constant supervision from the driver. Mercedes-Benz offers level 3 automation, which does not require hands on the wheel in selected models under certain conditions in parts of Germany. And also in the United States. Robotaxis is tested in the United States and China can be categorized as more advanced systems at level 4. But these vehicles are limited in terms of range. The highest level, which no one has achieved yet, would be level 5 cars capable of driving autonomously anywhere under any condition.
Would you trust it, like, to fall asleep and wait for the car to drop you off at the beach? Would you trust that today? It's complicated, right? Wow. Just imagine opening a bottle of wine, watching a show, and arriving there. Like, put on Netflix, binge watch a series, and just arrive. Wow, that would be amazing. Just amazing. I'm 40 years old. I've renewed my license about 3 times. I've been driving since I was 18. Wow, that's a long time, right? 22 years driving if I did the math, right? That's a lot, isn't it?
The misuse of technology by drivers. Over-reliant stations still cause accidents, while engineers admit that supervising resources can be tedious and dangerous. The utilitarian conditions have failed. SP Global, which is a market intelligence company, believes that level 5 vehicles will only be available after the year 2035. Now, the focus is on partial systems that increase safety without fully replacing the driver.
It's dangerous, isn't it? If this trend catches on, young people won't even learn how to drive anymore, right? Young people don't even know how to drive a manual. At least most of them, actually, even at the companies that run driving schools, right? It's not even mandatory anymore for you to learn manual transmission. So in a little while, you won't even be obligated, right? Actually, you're not even required to, right? But maybe there won't even be driving schools anymore, right? What's the point? If the car drives itself, right? It'll be more like, it's like learning a language nowadays, right? With artificial intelligence, everything is being translated. So you end up learning more for the culture. Maybe in some places you still need it for certain jobs, but soon it'll be more about just wanting to learn, which is great. But it's no longer something mandatory. If you have a universal translator right there, where you speak in English and it already comes out in Spanish. In fact, I have YouTube channels. I have 12 channels. 9 of them are monetized. And these channels are in Portuguese, English, Spanish, and German. And I don't speak those languages fluently. I use artificial intelligence to do the translation and expand my sources of income. And that's what I teach. It's one of the things I teach in my monetization mentorship. Getting back to cars, let's go. Yeah, a lot.
Of the challenges. And now let's discuss this topic here on All Hard Digital News. welcoming live Professor Fernando Pinto, who is the Director of Technology and Innovation at the Polytechnic School of the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. Let's welcome Professor Fernando here in our studios. Let's go. Hello, good evening, Professor Fernando. Once again, welcome to All Heart Digital News.
Good evening, Marisa. Good evening to everyone watching us. It's a great pleasure to be here once again.
Professor Fernando, we just saw in the report that the autonomous car sector is evolving more slowly than expected, right? What is the main technical difficulty in developing this technology?
Look, I think that question is actually multifaceted. There are technical difficulties, real technical ones, such as sensor development, computational capacity issues, and costs associated with all that. But there are also, let's say, ethical, moral, and even legal issues involved in everything.
It's probably like the example I gave, right? Ethical and legal.
That aspect, from a technical standpoint, it's not that simple. Obtain all the information from the environment that we usually gather using our eyes and ears when we're driving. It's basically our eyes and ears, right? And we take in a lot of information from our surroundings. We discard much of that information, and we're still able to drive. Now, when you try to transfer that decision making, that information gathering, that choice of what to take into account or not, what am I going to bring in? What is possible for my decision-making process? It's very simple, isn't it? You can imagine that this process isn't like we speak.
That's important because when someone drives for the first time, you want to look at all the mirrors. You can't do it. You end up looking at everything around you. At the same time, you also need to shift gears, whether it's automatic or not, whether it's if it's automatic, sometimes you'll put it in reverse, sometimes you'll put it in neutral, in drive, and so on. Besides that, you also have to check the engine's RPM. You have to look at the road. You have to see if the traffic light has turned red. So there are a lot of decisions to make at the same time. And as time goes by, you start to disregard some things. Oh, I don't need to look. You have to look in a specific mirror. Just by listening, I can tell if I need to shift gears or not. I can, for example, park just by listening to the sensor. I don't need to look at the camera anyway. You disregard information, and that's really important. Which information will artificial intelligence take into account? Which will it disregard and why? Interesting. Besides that, artificial intelligence also has biases because it was programmed by humans, and humans have interests and have prejudices. So that's pretty complicated. He did really well just now.
Being able to think of every possible situation. I think this question about the soul of pedophilia is a cutting edge topic. In other words, the machine in the case of the vehicle will have the ability to make a decision without consulting a human being. It will make the decision and that's it. In reality, there are very few machines that reach that level. And from another ethical and even legal point of view, that's the case here. In this situation, if a person is killed, who is held responsible for it? It's an unexplored area, an area that needs philosophical ethical answers. This also discourages investment. And another issue is the viability of the infrastructure. What is an autobahn in Germany and what is a rural road in the Amazon? These are different points, almost like different planets. Will the vehicle really be able to drive autonomous?
You will have much better infrastructure in developed countries. So you look at Germany, you look at the United States. Now, for example, poor Brazil. In
all these situations, we set ourselves very big, very high, and concentrated goals. And not always does the technique, the technology, even the physical possibility of making it happen keeps up with our desires.
Now, Professor Fernando, electrification itself, right? Its adoption has been slower in many vehicles. And autonomous cars which are being designed, they are electric. I'd like you to mention in what way these delays are intertwined between autonomous cars and electric cars.
I think there's a lot of confusion when it comes to the electrification of electric cars. People think that electric cars are wonderful for the environment Actually, you have to think of it this way. I'm going to leave here to go somewhere using a vehicle, and I'm going to need energy. And what I'm really transporting is energy. I transport this energy in the vehicle using fuel, whether that fuel is fossil-based or whether biofuel, or I'm going to carry that energy in the form of electrons in a battery.
And we still haven't solved the issue of battery disposal, right?
The chemical energy in a battery. And this involves cost. It involves how I charge that battery. The battery doesn't produce energy. It's just the means of transporting that energy inside the car. This hasn't been solved. It's heavy, it's expensive, and then it starts to get dangerous. It catches fire. When it catches fire, there's no way to put it out. So it raises issues that haven't been resolved. This is fundamental for the electric car.
Look it up on YouTube later, BYD catching fire or electric car catching fire. You can't put it out. It's a desperate situation.
So you accept it. The case of the electric car is related to the other one. So the main point of electrification isn't even so much the environmental issue, because that energy had to come from somewhere. If I burned a fossil fuel in a power plant to generate electricity to charge the battery, that's not intrinsically different from burning the same fossil fuel in the vehicle directly. There are some efficiency issues, but intrinsically, it's the same thing. It's not necessarily better from an environmental standpoint. Now, from the perspective of being able to control the car, to control the vehicle, controlling the vehicle using electric control is much easier than controlling the vehicle using combustion. So electrification shouldn't be necessary, but it is a big help when it comes to autonomy. And then if one lags behind, if the other is already picking up the issue of investment, cost issues, all of this ends up postponing our dreams. In fact, in some countries, the demand for combustion cars has returned, but the demand for hybrid has also increased a lot because there's also the issue of battery range. If your country doesn't have the infrastructure, you can't find charging stations at like every gas station. Besides that, you take a long time because to fill up with gasoline, you fill the tank in a few minutes. Now, sometimes there are two bombs there for you to carry battery, and it can take you sometimes 2 or 3 hours. It obviously depends on the battery's capacity. And sometimes you check the app to see where there's a charging station, and sometimes one of them is broken and the app hasn't been updated. Then you have to wait for someone else who will take 3 hours. It's 3 hours, really, 3 hours. You end up having to change your whole travel plan. So this is quite complicated, especially for countries with little infrastructure like Brazil, like Spain. The United States is more advanced in this regard. In Germany, I don't know, we know. Below, if you are from Germany and have an electric car.
Now, going back to the issue of the safety of autonomous vehicles that are already being tested, we're already seeing some examples of robotaxis being tested and using autonomous technologies. In your opinion, how about Tesla, for example, in your view? Even in, let's say, cities that are a bit more controlled, are these vehicles safe?
That's a difficult question to answer because it really depends a lot on the vehicle, on the features that have been implemented, and on the environment where it will be used. So if you're talking about a city, a more organized city, it's going to be a place where the road pavement is, where the road markings are clear. And what are the features? Will it take you from one place to another, regardless of where that place is or what the infrastructure is like? Is it going to be raining a lot or just a little? Is the lighting good or not so good? What kind of traffic conditions will it have to deal with in relation to all that? It's chaotic traffic, like we sometimes see in cities or parts of cities in Brazil, but it's better regulated traffic. Is it traffic where people obey the traffic laws, stop at red lights?
Look at how many variables there are. So like,
Thanks.
they're already being tested. We already see some examples of robotaxis being tested and using autonomous technologies. In your opinion, how about Tesla, for example? In your opinion, even in, let's say, cities that are a bit more controlled, are these vehicles safe? Wow, it really depends. It depends on the infrastructure. on which city it is, whether the pavement is good. Anyway, let's hear from the specialist. It's a difficult question to answer because it really depends on the vehicle, on the features that have been implemented, and on the environment where it will be used. So if you're talking about a city, a more organized city, it will be a city where the asphalt pavement is good, the road markings are good, and what are the functions? Will it take you from one place to another, regardless of where it is or what the infrastructure is like? Is it going to be raining there? Is the lighting good? Is the lighting good? What kind of traffic situations does it have to deal with in relation to that? Is it chaotic traffic like we sometimes see in cities, in parts of cities in Brazil? Or is it more well-regulated traffic? Is it traffic where people obey the traffic laws, stop at red lights? Wow, look at how many variables there are. And that's what he said, right? So it will also depend on the city. Just imagine, right? Here in Brazil, wow, poor thing. Chaotic city, bad roads, not very good signage, depending on the city. I know that in Spain, it's kind of like that too. Now, in the United States, it's more advanced. Leave a comment here. You who are from Germany, you who are from Spain, you who are from the United States, comment down below if there are a lot of electric cars. Does it cause a lot of problems, a lot of accidents? Because we see that a lot in the news, right? But I want to hear from you if you've ever had a case, if you've ever seen an accident or heard about one. Leave a comment down below.
Red lights is the place where people cross at crosswalks or just cross any. So this safety, it's very much connected to the environment and the culture where this vehicle is going.
Absolutely. In other words, there are several factors that need to be taken into consideration to be able to say whether these vehicles are safe or not, because there are many elements, not just the vehicle itself, but also the environment. Now then, Professor Fernando, based on your experience in the field, would you be able to say when or in how much time we might possibly have better technologies and more suitable environments for the just a complement to the autonomous taking off with just one?
That's a tough question, isn't it? Usually people answer 3 to 5 years or 5 to 10 years. Let's see.
From the point of view of the environment, the urban environment, let's put it that way. Here, for example, in Brazil, I think we still have a long way to go because it depends a lot on perception. We have poor infrastructure, poor signage in Brazil. There's also another cultural difficulty like adapting to the red light, crossing at the crosswalk, things like that, which are hard to goodbye.
So never then, it's never. Brazilians never do, right? Answer there, you from Germany, you from the United States, and you from Spain, but Brazilians never do, right?
From a purely technological point of view, the battery issue is still unresolved. There isn't a definitive solution yet. There isn't really a clear path, like I'll go this way and soon I'll get there. As for the rest, the well-known components like the electric motor, the control systems, the computer systems, the software, even the sensors, I would say we are making great strides towards solving most of these problems. So much so that nowadays you have autonomous vehicles to varying degrees. So when it comes to purely technological aspects, the big barrier is the battery. And in that area, our progress is kind of slow. We've made some big leaps in the last 10 or 20 years, but we haven't reached a good solution yet. A good solution for this. Right now, we're in a bit of a stagnation period. So we need a few breakthroughs along the way to achieve a new technology, a new perspective on how to handle the issue of energy transport. And from the standpoint of infrastructure, ethics, and law, that's even harder to predict.
What really matters for sure is that technology will advance quickly, but infrastructure, government investment, and ethical and legal issues, those take years and depend on the government, right? Whether they approve it or not, whether the government is interested or not. But what I want to know from you is this. If money were no object, would you have a self-driving car? Would you trust it to take you from point A to point B on a trip? Would you sleep soundly and wake up somewhere else? Leave a comment below. I want to know. And remember, if you want to keep going with me on this topic of technology, applied artificial intelligence, robotics, for example, I'll leave this playlist here for you so you can keep going with me. I'll see you in the next video. See you soon.